Hello, and welcome to The Darkside by EastWest. I'll be your host, David Earle, as we explore the twisted side of EastWest sound palette. The Darkside was a collaboration of Doug Rogers and David Fridmann. David Fridmann is a Grammy Award-winning producer, musician, and engineer that's worked with so many artists that to list them here would be tiring. Among the better known would be The Flaming Lips, Weezer, Sleater-Kinney, and Tame Impala. A sense of wild experimentation permeates his recording, production, and engineering techniques. Doug tapped him to come and join the project when he realized that the industry needed rough, rugged, raw, and tough sounds. The two of them had a no-holds-barred recording session, and the sounds that came out are now available here in The Darkside. The Darkside incorporates 40 gigabytes of 24-bit, 88.2 kilohertz sample rate samples, meticulously mapped and placed in the Play engine. Let's go take a walk on the Darkside. All right, here's the Darkside. In the browser of the Darkside, you'll note that there are 7 different folders: drums, basses, guitars, keys and strings, ethnic and choirs, instruments, miscellaneous, and percussion. As we go through each of these folders, you'll note that at the top of the folder, that's usually where you're going to find the key switches and modulation effects. So if I go down through these libraries, you can see that the key switches are located there. It pays to go through all of these individual instruments as well, just to see what's going on. But I really love checking out these key switches, because the key switches allow you to actually do something like in the case of these kits, you can morph from one kind of kit into another. So check it out. I've got the Chameleon kit up, and I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to go through these key switches down below. Just a little note, you may want to drop your keyboard an octave if you have a 61-key keyboard. You'll want to go down 1 octave. Check it out. So many great variations on a single kit in a single instrument that you can go through via key switching. Now you can find all the individual kits here in the library as well in the folder, but it's a pretty awesome thing. Let me go to Slap Kit. So check this one out. Really, really interesting sounds. Let's come down to the Verb kit and see what happens there. It's awesome. You can really hear how they were pushing all of the recording techniques to get what they wanted. You know, they've used everything from spring reverbs and plate reverbs and running through things, distortion and oversaturation. Really awesome stuff. Now, when we get down into the instruments, you'll note that some of the instruments are called Darkside. So this one's called Darkside basses, and then a key switch, C0 to A0. So once again, you want to make sure that you drop your keyboard far enough down an octave that you can reach C0 fairly easily. So as I play a single note, I can key switch through them. So you can hear as I go through, I can key switch between them. So as I play this line back, so a really great variation on all the different kinds of sounds that they have built into this library. It's sort of a great way to take a snapshot of all the different kinds of basses that are going on in the Darkside. And then when you go into the folder, you can explore all the different patches. As I come down to Rattly basses, we're going to notice the same kind of thing. There's no real key switching going on here. There's only 2. But watch what happens when I turn up the mod wheel. It's adding another synth patch on top of it. So you'll want to be sure to look out for the MOD word at the end of the patches because that means you need to use the mod wheel in order to hear what else they have going on. All right, so now we're going to be getting into some guitar sounds. So weird. I love it. Now, normally on these other patches, so I'll come down to the Darkside guitars here, and as I go through them, watch what happens when I hit the mod wheel. I'm going to push the mod wheel. So that actually changes the filter. And then, of course, I can go through and key switch between these different patches as well. I love that one. That's crazy. Really cool, just completely overly distorted. Here we have Amadeus organ. We're going to get into keyboards now. So this is a mix of two patches. It's Amadeus organ and a patch called Brain Damage. And I'm able to go between those two sounds and sort of crossfade them together by using the mod wheel. So cool. Now you hear that there's a little bit of a reverb tail in there because on every one of these sounds, I've gone into the mixer and I've chosen my SSL suite. I've got my channel strip here, which has compression and EQ and transient shaping. I get convolution reverb that's built in with a whole lot of reverb. So all kinds of impulse responses there to choose from. Then I also have the bus compressor on the back end. So this is a lot like a SSL G series bus compressor, very fast VCA compressor. Really awesome stuff. So when you're hearing these effects play out, those are built into the mixer. I love that the sounds aren't just weird, they just really evoke an emotion. Really interesting stuff. Most of the time, the effect is actually written into the audio files. It's programmed into the sample map. But we also have some other effects that we get in the player here, besides what we get in the mixer. So for instance, so this sound is a little weighted to the right. If I wanted to, I could pan it slightly. Then I can also come over here and do automatic double tracking, which is an emulation of how you would use another tape machine, copy a part from one tape machine to another tape machine, and that other tape machine, we're talking reel tape, like reel to reel. When the two play back together, there's a natural wow and flutter, which makes it sound like you've sort of double tracked, but not really. It's just a very interesting effect. Get a little bit of flanging in there too. I'm adjusting the delay. Pretty cool. Neat stuff. All right, let's get past the distorted organ down to the Darkside keys. So remember, any patch that says Darkside is going to be kind of a cornucopia collection of keyboards. And when we look at the key switching down below, I know that there is more key switching going on than this because in the patch name, it says C-1 to D#0. So I may need to drop my keyboard down another octave just to get at it. So a lot of really cool sounds. So yeah, when you go into these Darkside patches, you're able to get a really good idea of what's going on within that library. Similarly to Darkside strings. It's just beautiful. I mean, right off the bat, it sounds mysterious. Really beautiful work with the tremolo. And I don't know what kind of spaces they recorded this stuff in, but it's pretty amazing. Got some interesting ethnic sounds and things like that that are mixed up in here. And the way that they've blended these samples together to create something that sounds really unique. It's kind of interesting. I almost hear a hurdy-gurdy in there or something like that. Let's come down to the Toxic Choir. I love this one too. So you can see I have some modulation data in there. Lots of LFO going on in this library. Cool stuff. Darkside choirs. Great stuff. Now, whenever you see Y, that means the imaging is slightly wider and just, oh man, it's just such nice stuff. Again, I'm using some stuff in the mixer, but all of the effects that you're hearing are built into the Play Engine and built into the libraries. Really amazing stuff. Darkside Ethnic, let's check this out. Crunchy, compressy, cool goodness. There are also some libraries in here, like when they say with effects, what we end up getting is these patches, like these basses that were recorded, but they've been affected on input into the sample map. So check this out. Nice. I love this broken circuit drum kit. Oh man, check this out. That is so cool. Now I'm going to use the mod wheel to affect that. And I just love the tuning on the drums is amazing too, how all these drums work together. Really great stuff. Now here's some guitar, basically a guitar lead sound. Cool stuff. If you use high velocity, you get more vibrato on the string. Another string patch. So a lot of chorusing, a lot of warble coming from some tremolo or something. Now some tablas, but tablas with a lot of really awesome processing on them. Kind of reminds me of something you might hear in like Akira or something like that. I just love it because they're obviously tablas, but they've been processed in such an interesting way. It really gives them a lot of edge. So an omnichord. Omnichord is this funny little device that you sit on your lap and you strum. It's got a metal strip that you strum, and you hold down a chord and it plays a chord, just like an auto harp. Now, check this out though. This was with a little bit of, you know. So I'm changing the chord type with my key switching, right? So. Then what they do is they put it through a chaos pad. Sounds like all the niceness of the omnichord is just being torn apart. Also included are these really awesome effects. I wanted to play you some of these miscellaneous effects. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff. Ugh. Beautiful. And then there's another version of the same library that has a bit more tonality. So you can play it like an instrument, even though it has a lot of the same key switching going on. And last but not least, we have something that's completely non-tonal. As filled with interesting textures and darkness and distortion as the Darkside has, there are a couple of additional tools that we have in our mixer now to add to our palette in Play 5. If I go to the mixer and open up the effects section, you'll see that we have an amp simulator and ohmicide on top of our already awesome SSL channel strip, convolution reverb, and bus compressor. So the amp simulator, basically you have all these different amp models that were recorded with different microphones to get different tonality out of them. And I love using this amp simulator on just about anything. So if I choose something like a Carvin with a Sennheiser 421 on it, turn the power on, and play a drum kit through it, that alone is really fun. I can also place this pre or post channel strip if I want. And that instantly gives us a really cool amplified sound. It's like reamping within the box, which is great. Then after that, we have ohmicide. So ohmicide is a multi-band dynamics and distortion plugin. You have a noise gate on 4 different bands and different distortion algorithms on each of these bands as well. You choose the crossover between the different bands, the different frequency spectrums, by using these 3 knobs. And then each one of these bands, you have control over, like I said, the noise gate, shape, body of the sound, gain. You have the different algorithms or the different distortion types. Below that, we have feedback, bias, frequency, and spread. So you have a lot of control over how the sound is actually going to feed back. And then we have a little mixer channel down below that gives us solo, mute, mix, and then mid-side or left-right panning. So what's the difference between mid-side and left-right? Well, left-right means that you're changing the balance between the left and right speaker. When we do mid-side, everything that's common between the speakers, which would be the center of your image, you can turn that up and down in comparison with the side, which is everything that is not common to the center image of your sound. So it's pretty amazing that that complexity is actually built into this plugin. It's staggering. It's amazing. It sounds really great on percussive stuff. If you play it on things that are a bit more ethereal or lead sounds, you can also get really amazing tonality out of it. And this is an amazing addition to the palette of sounds that you get in the Darkside. So I'm going to bypass this so you can hear the drum kit dry. And now let's pop ohmicide on. So not only do we have that biting distortion that's on there, but the noise gate is also messing around with the image and having it kind of break up between the left and the right channel, which is a lot of fun. So now what about a bass sound? So I have this bass sound. And it already has distortion on it, right? Well, check out what happens when I take this bypass off. Now we're talking. So again, with bypass on, and now with ohmicide. With something like a guitar, here's a lead guitar that already has distortion on it. It's a little thin. Let's take the bypass off. So not only are we getting a lot of rich and thick distortion, but we're also getting a nice image between the left and the right speaker, which is totally awesome. Even on ethereal sounds like bells and things like that, it can be fun to add ohmicide to give a little bit of richness and mystery to the timbre. So that's bypassed. Now let's check it out with ohmicide. You can hear that feedback fading in and out, which makes things really interesting. And it adds an additional sort of patina to the sound, which is great. So anyway, ohmicide, it's a favorite of people like Skrillex and Trent Reznor, Armin van Buuren. It's a really fantastic plugin that gives you so much flexibility over the sound, especially in a library like the Darkside. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. You can get the Darkside on soundsonline.com as a download, or you can get it as part of their Composer Cloud package. And I think that if you add it to any film, TV, music production project, it just instantly adds edge. And the effects are wonderful and the sound design is great. I'm a big fan. I'd like to leave you now with this video that shows you the power of the Darkside and gives examples of what you can do when you put all these sounds together. Okay, until next time, ciao.